Hello, students. All right, we made it to the end. We made it to our last day. Well, our last lecture, because we have next week that we'll meet together again, and that's going to be a Zoom meeting where we're going to all, meet over our computers, like we did the one time, and you're using for other classes, I assume. And that's the time you're going to have from me a model of the human body, and you're going to show it to all of us on your little camera, okay? So that's next week. So this week, though, we're going to finish up the study in our book. We're learning this time about muscles, okay? So let's get started learning about muscles. We're going to start with a little introductory video.
Each time you take a step, 200 muscles work in unison to lift your foot, propel it forward, and set it down. It's just one of the many thousands of tasks performed by the muscular system. This network of over 650 muscles covers the body and is the reason we can blink, smile, run, jump, and stand upright. It's even responsible for the heart's dependable thump. First, what exactly is the muscular system? It's made up of three main muscle types: skeletal muscle, which attaches via tendons to our bones; cardiac muscle, which is only found in the heart; and smooth muscle, which lines the blood vessels and certain organs like the intestine and uterus. All three types are made up of muscle cells, also known as fibers, bundled tightly together. These bundles receive signals from the nervous system that contract the fibers, which in turn generates force and motion. This produces almost all the movements we make. Some of the only parts of the body, the first two, shortening muscle fibers and lengthening them, generate opposing forces. So the biceps will shorten while the triceps will lengthen or relax, pulling up the arm and making it bend at the elbow. This allows us to, say, pick up a book, or if the muscle relationship is reversed, put it down. This complementary partnership exists throughout the muscular system. The third type of contraction creates a stabilizing force. In these cases, the muscle fibers don't change in length, but instead keep the muscles rigid. This allows us to grip a mug of coffee or lean against a wall. It also maintains our posture by holding us upright. Skeletal muscles form the bulk of the muscular system, make up about 30 to 40% of the body's weight, and generate most of its motion. Some muscles are familiar to us, like the pectorals and the biceps. Others may be less so, like the buccinator, a muscle that attaches your cheek to your teeth, or the body's tiniest skeletal muscle, a 1 millimeter long tissue fragment called the stapedius that's nestled deep inside the ear. Wherever they occur, skeletal muscles are connected to the somatic nervous system, which gives us almost complete control over their movements. This muscle group also contains two types of muscle fibers to refine our motions even further: slow twitch and fast twitch. Fast twitch fibers react instantly when triggered, but quickly use up their energy and tire out. Slow twitch fibers, on the other hand, are endurance cells. They react and use energy slowly so they can work for longer periods. A sprinter will accumulate more fast twitch muscles in her legs through continuous practice, enabling her to quickly, if briefly, pick up the pace. Whereas back muscles contain more slow twitch muscles to maintain your posture all day. Unlike the skeletal muscles, the body's cardiac and smooth muscles are managed by the autonomic nervous system, beyond our direct control. That makes your heart thump roughly 3 billion times over the course of your life, which supplies the body with blood and oxygen. Autonomic control also contracts and relaxes smooth muscle in a rhythmic cycle. That pumps blood through the smooth internal walls of blood vessels, enables the intestine to constrict and push food through the digestive system, and allows the uterus to contract when a person is giving birth. As muscles work, they also use energy and produce an important byproduct: heat. In fact, muscle provides about 85% of your warmth, which the heart and blood vessels then spread evenly across the body via the blood. Without that, we couldn't maintain the temperature necessary for our survival. The muscular system may be largely invisible to us, but it leaves its mark on almost everything we do, whether it's the blink of an eye or a race to the finish line.
Okay, so that was a lot of good detail on that. So let's talk about our muscles. So they are attached to bone. Now we're talking right now about skeletal muscle, okay? Not cardiac muscle in your heart or smooth muscle in your esophagus and stomach and stuff like that. So our muscles that we have control over, that means our voluntary muscles that we can today move or don't move, are called skeletal muscles. Okay, so they're attached to our bones so that our bones can move. That's one of the jobs of muscles is movement, so we can have movement. The muscle tissue is stretchy, sort of like a rubber band. You can pull it and it'll actually go back to its original shape, right? Muscles do that too. We have over 600 muscles in the body. If you want to be a doctor someday or a nurse or someone who does physical therapy, then you're going to need to know names of some of those muscles, most all of them, I guess. So there are three types. Skeletal, that's the type connected to our bones. Smooth, like in our digestive tract. And cardiac in our heart. The size and the strength of the muscle depends on the job that it must do. Our eyes have small muscles, all right, but they're very detailed because we have to move our eyes in, very, like think if you're reading a book, your eyes have to be on that one line of letters and then move down to the next line. We need some intricate muscles for that, but they're small. But they have very detailed stuff. Muscle in our legs are strong, so they're big because we've got to be able to move and to lift our legs and things like that. Okay, so those are some details right there. This is a picture of a guy showing off some of those muscles. Okay, so the skin has been taken off and you can see how they're all sort of intertwined with each other, okay, working together. Muscles always work together. Where one is constricted, there's another one or another set that is relaxed, like they showed in the arm. So if I'm pulling my arm in and making a muscle in my arm, my biceps brachii is contracted, and my triceps brachii behind it is relaxed. So there are people out there who could start naming some of these muscles for you, okay? I know some of them, but I don't know, for this class we don't need to know the names of the muscles. But you see there's lots of them there. Here's a big, strong guy right here, right? So he's built his muscles up. So here's the name of some of them. The quadriceps are a set of 4 muscles in the legs. Those are big on this guy. The biceps, but we have to make sure and say the biceps brachii, the ones in the arms. There are biceps in your legs too. So brachii means it's part of the arm. We have our abdominals called the rectus abdominis, meaning straight muscles in the abdomen. Trapezoids are on your back. You can see the traps right here, this big one right here like this. It's kind of shaped in a trapezoid shape. That's how it got its name. It says here shoulders, but that's called the deltoid muscle right there. We have our gluteus maximus. Underneath that, of course, is the gluteus minimus and the gluteus medius. So the maximus means the big one. It's a pretty big muscle. Our hamstring is a group of 3 muscles back there, and then our calves, that's called the gastrocnemius, attached to our ankle right here, but the really large tendon called the Achilles tendon right there. So let's take a look at the quadriceps. Like I said, there are these 4 different muscles we're looking at. So the first one is called the rectus femoris. Rectus means straight, so it's got straight fibers on it, and it's on the femur. The femur is the bone right there, okay? So it's stretching all the way above the hip there, all the way down below the knee right there. So that's one of them. Then we have the vastus lateralis and the vastus medialis. And then underneath this one, that's why they showed us on the other leg, because it's underneath the rectus femoris, is the vastus intermedius. So those 4 work together to lift your leg up. All right, so there's the leg lifting up, see? Now, this is showing that quadricep doing that. Keep in mind there's some muscles on the back that are relaxing when that takes place, okay? Pretty cool. The trapezius. I like to talk about this muscle because this is the muscle that causes me a lot of pain. So I need to get like a massage to get this all worked out, because we have it sort of shaped like a trapezoid. It's on this side too, by the way. So it's shaped like this as well. And it is along our back right here. This is if you're going to shrug your shoulders, like, I don't know, and you bring your shoulders up, then you're going to feel that trapezoid working like that. I think my trapezoid hurts a lot. My trapezius hurts a lot because I lift stuff into my car, and I think I overwork that, and it goes up to my neck and gives me kind of a neck ache and that kind of thing. But that's that. Look how big of a muscle it is. Keep in mind it's on this side and this side. Notice how it's very red. It turns out muscles have a lot of blood supply. In fact, if you're a fan of eating steak, you're eating muscle, and the muscle is red from the blood supply coming to it. Notice how it turns white right here. That's because the muscle is now transitioning into that tendon that will attach itself, in this particular case, to your backbone right there. And that attachment is very, very strong. Here's that shoulder muscle called the deltoid. It's shaped a little like a triangle. Remember the delta of a river? Shaped like a triangle. We have a deltoid shaped like a triangle. That's how it's got its name. The biceps, triceps brachii, that's the back of your arm right there. You can see that's because they have 3 muscles. That's why triceps. You can only see 2 right there. Okay, there's our lifting our shoulders and then putting our shoulders down. Okay, so we're shrugging and putting it down. That's our trapezius at work right there. Okay, you can do that a couple times and you can feel it. Oh, and they're in the middle. When we're bringing, yeah. So bring your shoulder blades together. That's part of your trapezius as well. All right. Is it going to show us? It might show us one more. Let's see. That's doing that a lot. Okay, maybe I just move on. But that's our trapezius right there. Okay, I really love to show this picture to students because it kind of freaks them out a little bit. You may not realize how many muscles are in your face, but think about it. Humans are really great at making facial expressions, right? And we can make all sorts of facial. You can look at your mom and tell if she's happy or not, right? So just by the expression on her face. But we have all these muscles that are helping us to make those expressions. These are really cool. These are called, this is called the orbicularis oculi. It's a round muscle, so try to wink your eye. If you can't wink, then try blinking both your eyes. And you can actually feel that round muscle kind of closing when you do that. We have a round muscle around your mouth as well called the orbicularis oris, orbicularis being circular, oris having to do with the mouth. So purse your lips like you're going to whistle. You can feel that muscle right there. It also turns out that these little muscles here, these zygomaticus major, zygomaticus minor, and our levator labii, that means to lift the lip. So these work together to smile. So you use those to smile. You use your orbicularis oris and your buccinator for kissing. So if you purse your lips to kiss, those are called the kissing muscles. This one right here, instead of expressions, this has a lot of strength to it. The masseter, that is actually on your jaw to help you chew your food. All right, chewing your food. Then we have all these muscles coming down here. See this one? This is called the platysma. It's peeled away. It actually comes up underneath the chin right here. That's the frowning muscle. If you frown, that whole platysma is pulled down there. So really it's a much bigger muscle. So it takes more muscle to frown than it does to smile, is what they say. So make sure and smile. And you can see a bunch of other ones. The occipital frontalis, it's going over, if you lift your eyebrows up, it actually, you can feel it on the top of your head, going all the way down the back of your skull right there to the occipital belly of the occipital frontalis. So how do they work? Muscles attached to bone with a very strong connection called a tendon. They contract to get shorter and then they relax. So all they can do is contract, relax, and be stretched out. Okay, so contract, relax, or stretched. They always work in pairs. One contracts, the other relaxes and stretches out. Okay, so we see right here, when we are using our biceps brachii, okay, it says biceps because see that 2 heads, biceps, 2. And they're going above the joint right here and into here. This is called the belly of the muscle. Like I said earlier, when I flex that muscle and make a muscle, the triceps brachii, there are actually 3 heads for this one. There's 1, 2, and 3. This one relaxes. When I put my arm down the other direction, my triceps is actually contracting and my biceps is relaxing. Here I love this picture because you can see here's the muscle coming from the femur over the knee, and look at that ligament right there. So it comes from the muscle, it turns kind of white because it doesn't have any more blood supply. It goes through and under the patella, which is the kneecap, around and down to the tibia and inserts itself into the bone, and actually this tissue will become bone. when it's inserted deep down in there, which is a very strong connection right there. All those tendons do that like that. But I love that picture. It shows it so nicely right there. So once again, our biceps brachii, here it is. Biceps contracted, triceps relaxed. Biceps relaxed, triceps contracted. There you go. I like that you can see the biceps, the two heads right here. Here you can see the, supposed to be 3. It goes 1 and then 2 and then 3. It doesn't quite show it right there. All right, so we're looking over here at the right. You can see that muscle contraction right there. When muscles contract, the antagonist muscle, in this case the triceps, will relax. Muscle tissue is touched by a nerve cell, and the nerve is what sends the message to it to contract, okay, causing that to contract. And then muscle tissue will contract, and then when you relax it, it bounces back to its original and can be stretched. So think about that rubber band. I can pull the rubber band and stretch it. When I let it go, it's going to go back to its original shape. Well, muscles are even better because they can actually take, if you took that rubber band and were able to squinch it and make it smaller, that's what muscles do. They contract right there onto themselves. Rubber band can't do that. So they're voluntary muscles. That means we tell them to move, unlike your heart, which is not a voluntary muscle. Good thing, right? Because otherwise we could say, heart, stop beating. Well, then we're going to die. So we don't want that to happen. So we choose to move these. The cell itself is called a fiber. And remember, we talk about cells and how typically we'll draw them like a circle. Well, this one's drawn as a long, thin fiber. And that fiber is wrapped with something called endomysium, which is wrapped again by perimysium, which is wrapped again by epimysium, all wrapped together so that one little cell gets wrapped with bunches more. So then we put all these together and we put a big muscle together with more fibers, and we end up with an actual muscle right there. It's showing it right there, okay? Yeah, so you can see all those cells kind of together, but also wrapped in that tissue, which makes muscle very, very strong. Okay, so like I said, if you've eaten steak before, that muscle, it can be kind of tough sometimes, depending on where it comes from, the body of the cow. Some of the muscles are used for lots more work than other muscles. The muscles that don't have to work too much, those are the really tender muscles. So one called the tenderloin, for instance. This is what it looks like under a microscope. So today I'm going to show you something we're going to do for a lab today at the end here. But this is something we also would have done. I would have brought a microscope slide for you to look at. And then I would have had you find a place in your book to draw it in there. Okay, so you'd be looking at this under the scope and you could see, wow, look at those little stripes in there. Okay, so skeletal muscle, voluntary muscle, is called striated. Striated means it's got stripes in it. It's also got these big nuclei right here. That's a nucleus with the DNA in it, right? And these stripes right here are actually little segments of protein, and those proteins are what slip past each other to contract. So each one of those will contract. And because they have a certain look to them, they end up looking striped in a microscope slide. But I would have had you look at cardiac muscle too, but it's not striped, okay? Because it's not striated in the same way. Smooth muscle's kind of the same. It's smooth. It doesn't have those striations. All right, so how do we keep our muscles healthy? Well, exercise is good. That helps build muscle. This is kind of interesting. I think we're going to watch a video about this in a minute. That when I exercise, I actually damage my muscles a little bit, which will cause them to rebuild. So it's good. So if you've been working out or running or doing a lot of stuff and your muscles feel kind of sore, well, that's because they've been slight little tiny tears, but those tears heal and make our muscles stronger. So exercise is good for your muscles, kind of pushing them beyond their normal capacity to really work at it. Eating healthy and drinking water. We know this is important, y'all. That we're going to have good, healthy food, not a bunch of junk food, right? And then lots of sleep, plenty of sleep. You kids probably need more sleep than I need, but we all need sleep, and it helps our muscles to recover. And I think that's what this video is going to tell us. Let's watch it.
Muscles. We have over 600 of them. They make up between 1/3 and 1/2 of our body weight. And along with connective tissue, they bind us together, hold us up, and help us move. And whether or not bodybuilding is your hobby, muscles need your constant attention because the way you treat them on a daily basis determines whether they will wither or grow. Say you're standing in front of a door, ready to pull it open. Your brain and muscles are perfectly poised to help you achieve this goal. First, your brain sends a signal to motor neurons inside your arm. When they receive this message, they fire, causing muscles to contract and relax, which pull on the bones in your arm and generate the needed movement. The bigger the challenge becomes, the bigger the brain's signal grows, and the more motor units it rallies to help you achieve your task. But what if the door is made of solid iron? At this point, your arm muscles alone won't be able to generate enough tension to pull it open, so your brain appeals to other muscles for help. You plant your feet, tighten your belly, and tense your back, generating enough force to yank it open. Your nervous system has just leveraged the resources you already have, other muscles, to meet the demand. While all this is happening, your muscle fibers undergo another kind of cellular change. As you expose them to stress, they experience microscopic damage, which in this context is a good thing. In response, the injured cells release inflammatory molecules called cytokines that activate the immune system to repair the injury. This is when the muscle-building magic happens. The greater the damage to the muscle tissue, the more your body will need to repair itself. The resulting cycle of damage and repair eventually makes muscles bigger and stronger as they adapt to progressively greater demands. Since our bodies have already adapted to most everyday activities, those generally don't produce enough stress to stimulate new muscle growth. So to build new muscle, a process called hypertrophy, our cells need to be exposed to higher workloads than they are used to. In fact, if you don't continuously expose your muscles to some resistance, they will shrink, a process known as muscular atrophy. In contrast, exposing the muscle to a high degree of tension, especially while the muscle is lengthening, also called an eccentric contraction, generates effective conditions for new growth. However, muscles rely on more than just activity to grow. Without proper nutrition, hormones, and rest, your body would never be able to repair damaged muscle fibers. Protein in our diet preserves muscle mass by providing the building blocks for new tissue in the form of amino acids. Adequate protein intake, along with naturally occurring hormones like insulin-like growth factor and testosterone, help shift the body into a state where tissue is repaired and grown. This vital repair process mainly occurs when we're resting, especially at night while sleeping. Gender and age affect this repair mechanism, which is why young men with more testosterone have a leg up in the muscle building game. Genetic factors also play a role in one's ability to grow muscle. Some people have more robust immune reactions to muscle damage and are better able to repair and replace.
Oops. Huh. I don't know what happened, y'all. That looks like the end of the video right there. So better, they have more ability to replace those cells more easily, okay? All right, this is showing an exercise. I was going to have y'all do this. Y'all can do this at home if you like. This is called a squat thrust, also known as, does it say it up there? Burpee? A burpee? You may have heard of that. So this is what you do when you jump up. So you stand and then you go down onto your hands and then feet back behind you. Do a little push-up. Feet back up. Stand up and jump up. All right, so that's a burpee. You're using some good muscle action going on there. So I would have had you do a few little of these exercises during class time until you kind of got your cardiovascular system going, and huffing and puffing, that kind of thing. All right, so this was one of the other things you would have been looking at under the microscope. All right, you would have been looking at this muscle, and see, it's called smooth muscle. Notice it doesn't have all those stripes. It does have the nuclei in there, so this is the nucleus of these long fibrous cells, but not those stripes like we saw in the voluntary muscle. So this is involuntary. So for instance, when you're swallowing your esophagus, it squeezes the food all the way down. We call that peristalsis. That's what this is doing. And you don't have any control over that one. Here's our cardiac muscle. Now it's highly specialized. It's found in the heart, so you can see right here, they have some little stripes in there, right? And something called the intercalcated discs in between there for, there's the striations, for communication between them. I will tell you, this is such highly specialized tissue that if you took a cell off of the heart, a living heart, the cell itself would continue to beat. Boom, 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 like the heart. How about that? So specialized. There's our nucleus. Remember, what's in the nucleus is DNA, which codes for everything in the cell. All right, there's our heart. So that tissue right there looks like that. This tissue looks like that. And this heart is beating and sending our blood coursing throughout our body. Okay, so you're going to do now a muscle test lab. So I would have had you do this as well. So I'm going to show you how it's done by doing this little video right here. Okay, hi. So we have a little exercise to do today to test our muscles. It's called a muscle fatigue test. So here's what you're going to do, okay? You're going to stand next to a wall, and you're going to take your arm, and you're going to push out, just like I'm pushing it to the side like this. But I'm going to push it against the wall, like this, okay? So I'm going to go like this, and I'm pushing it right now. All right, so you're going to count to about 30 or so, and what's going to happen is, so you can feel the muscle I'm really pushing against it, okay, but not moving my body, okay? And so as you're counting to 30, what's going on is that the muscles right now are, contracting against the wall. They're going in one direction, and my brain is saying, what is she doing? Why does she keep doing this? And after a few seconds, after about 30 seconds or so, the brain just says, I'm going to shut off and just keep doing what she's doing and not react to it. So it's just going to be working on its own, if you will. All right, so after about 30 seconds go by, what you're going to do is just step to the side and relax your arm. And it's crazy, y'all. Really, it's just floating up on its own. It's just, I got to turn a little bit. Yeah, it is crazy. And it's called muscle fatigue or muscle memory, okay? So what's happening there, like I said, is the brain just is going to let it go on autopilot, where it's going to be, yes, pushing those muscles. So when you stop, the brain is still telling your arm to do that. Okay, so you may have to try it a couple of times for it to work. I know sometimes students have a little trouble with it. Now, you're kind of small, but if you can find a doorway that's narrow enough, you can do both arms at the same time like this. Some doorways are too big, but if you have a smaller, like closet doorway or something, try that, okay? It's really fun. All right. Okay, so y'all give that a try. Up against any wall, you can do that and push that arm. It's really a lot of fun. Sometimes students can't believe that it's really happening. So that's called muscle memory set. All right, so our brain is thinking about, we're pushing, and finally our brain says, okay, I'm tired of thinking about this. I'm going to go on autopilot kind of thing. And then when you finish, it continues to do it, and you step away, and your arm is all on its own going up like that. It's a ton of fun. So we would have done this today. We would have done that squat thrust exercise, and we would have looked at some microscope slides. Okay, so that is, I don't know if this is the right page number. I'm sure it's not the right page number, y'all. But I will say that it's still information that's useful. So let's just look at these. What muscle is located on your forehead to raise your eyebrows? It's called the frontalis. It's called the occipital frontalis, right? So occipital's in the back, frontalis in the front. What muscles raise and lower your jaw? The masseters for chewing. What large diamond-shaped muscle helps move and rotate your shoulder bone? The trapezius. We looked at that one. What muscle can you feel on the top part of your upper arm? We know that one. That's our biceps brachii. And what muscles are found on the top of your upper leg? Remember, we showed that. That's the quadriceps, the 4 of them, the 4 different ones right there. What I want to do is talk to you about your projects here. So hold on. Okay, I wanted to show you some ideas of some models of muscles. So we kind of had this a little bit last time, right, where we showed the hand, where you could pull the hand. And then this one you can see somebody has taken some clay, I guess. Yeah, and look at the old glove. You have that glove from last time. You could use that. And I don't know, what do you think they made that biceps out of? Maybe some Twizzlers or something like that. Here we can see the triceps, and it's been labeled very nicely. So that's a nice one. And this one's showing some of those facial muscles right there. Okay, so and it's they're labeled right there. Somebody used, I think this is where people put wigs on that or something, and it shows you those cool muscles right there. So if you want to think about doing a muscle project like that, that would be great. So that brings us, y'all, to the end. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing y'all next week and seeing what projects you've come up with. If you need some help or some ideas, you can email me or talk to your folks, see if they'll let you go look online for some ideas. You don't have to use expensive things. You can use, pieces of paper that you might have around or something like that. You can actually even make your own clay. You can look up recipes for making clay from flour. I know flour is kind of hard to come by these days, strangely enough, but you can make a salt dough with some salt. So check with your folks about that and use some food coloring to have different colors and stuff like that. Okay, well, I will see you next week. I'm super looking forward to it. Y'all have a great week. See you then. Bye.